capitalism as we know it here in America dying, given all the bailouts, more government involvement in private business, greater regulation, and even a scathing new movie by filmmaker Michael Moore? It is a question that many are now asking. Former Reform Party vice presidential candidate Pat Choate says capitalism might be wounded, but it can be saved. He had just published a new book called, you guessed it, Saving Capitalism, Keeping America Strong. He offers up 6 proposals to help resuscitate our economic system. And we welcome Pat Choate to the program once again. Pat, good to see you. Thanks for coming back on.
Brian, thanks for having me. Good being here.
Sure thing. Okay, well, being that it's live TV, don't have time to get through all 6 of your proposals. We're going to show them to our viewers, but I want to focus in, if we can, on 3. The first one being tax reform. We are headed toward, in seemingly everything, much higher taxes in America across the board, corporate, individual, with the exception of a puny $400 per worker tax cut per year. What do we need to do with regard to taxes?
Brian, I don't think we're headed towards higher taxes. I think that the no-tax movement of personal and corporate taxes is so effective that they'll hold it down. I think what we're headed to is ever-increasing debt, which at some point is going to destroy our capacity to be the reserve currency, is going to lower our standard of living. I think bankruptcy is where we're heading. What I propose is that we just scrap the corporate income tax and we scrap the personal income tax and we adopt a value-added tax as 150 other countries have done. There are many advantages in that. First of all, it'll lower taxes for everyone. Second, we can structure it in such a manner where it's progressive so we don't tax food, medicine, certain basics. The third thing that we do on this is all the loopholes are closed on this. Fourth thing, we will dramatically drop the compliance cost in the United States, which is now about 1.25% of the GDP. There would be no April 15 tax forms to file out, and it would all be collected through the production and sales stages, which means there'd be no audits of individuals. It also means that if you save money, you keep the money. Only consumption is taxed.
But you'd also capture parts of the economy that are not taxed: illegal immigrants, drug dealers, people who aren't going to file a tax return, but they're going to buy stuff. Then they're going to be contributing through their purchases.
We'll pick up $250 billion to $300 billion a year just off of that sort of stuff. The other big advantage that we get is we really help our companies on export. Under the global trade agreements, other countries get to rebate their VAT taxes into the U.S. since we don't have a VAT. $50,000 Mercedes-Benz coming in from Germany, the German government will give a 19% rebate, about $10,000 to Mercedes-Benz. So that car comes into our market at $40,000. You take a $50,000 Cadillac Escalade going into Germany, the Germans get to add 19% on, so that sells for $60,000. That's a $20,000 differential. This alone cost our economy $350 billion. One of the things that I did was get a law firm, Stewart & Stewart, one of the best trade law firms in the country, to calculate for 151 countries for the year 2007 just how much that VAT discrimination cost. We would totally eliminate that if we were to adopt my proposal on that.
Sadly, we're going in the other direction. You know that the top end is going to go from 35 to 39.6. State taxes have gone up, and you know, because there seems to be a movement that people that pay those types of income tax rates, you know, aren't doing, quote, their fair share. But let's move on. Numbers 4 and 5.
Well, this is going to hurt the economy.
Well, of course, you're taking GDP-producing wealth and moving it likely into government programs, which for the most part do not contribute to GDP.
Imagine running the tax rate down to an effective tax rate, 22, 23, 24%. You would cut the real tax rate for the average American 3 or 4%. That's a big savings for America.
Yeah, well, but politically right now that's for the most part going to be a non-starter. Let's move to 4 and 5 year proposals, and they're related. Help America's workers and reinvest in infrastructure. Completely agree with you here. They're both related, right? We got to bring back manufacturing jobs. We need to bring real, not filling potholes, but building out things like high-speed rail, which employ thousands of people, and more importantly, add to the productivity and strong infrastructure of this country.
We've got to view this as Eisenhower did in the mid-'60s. We've got to take on a project similar to the interstate highway, I identify 14 basic types of infrastructure that we need to rebuild. The American Society of Civil Engineers provided me the data. Basically, we've got about a $2.2 trillion backlog. Imagine that we were to split that up into 5 years and say we're going to take it, we're going to make this country look and be and act new, where we're really productive with our infrastructure. We would create 7 million new jobs. Now, about 2/3 of those would be in the construction, but 1/3 of those would be in things like steel and concrete and copper and materials and all the things that go into. Can you imagine 7 million new jobs, what that would do for the economy? And when it's through, we have the infrastructure.
Yeah, and you give people well-paying jobs with a dignified retirement, you know, just like the president has talked about, but we can't do it by short-term plans. We've got to make long-term, think big type projects, right? Like the interstate highway system. That adds to productivity. It gets people where they're going faster.
Yes, yes. And another thing I talk about in the book is we have unemployment rate among our teenagers, 16 to 19, out of school, dropped out, need a job, of 25%. That's Depression-era unemployment. Most of these kids are in large urban areas. Most of them are drifting into sloth or crime or gangs. Let's do what FDR did 75 years ago. Create something like the Civil Conservation Corps. Our parks, our forests really need rebuilding. We have a system that actually works. We put them on government employment. It's the only way. Government employment is the only way these kids are going to be saved. Let's put them out, save the parks, save the kids. We've got 1.5 million teenagers that are unemployed. We need to take that on directly, or we're going to lose these kids.
I know you didn't bring it up in your book, but Colin Powell's new education organization estimates that every high school dropout costs taxpayers more than $300,000 a year each. Princeton did a study that if the 1.2 million on average dropouts every year stayed employed, we would have added over $300 billion per year to the U.S. economy. But nobody's talking about that, Pat. Nobody's talking about the cost side. It's just like health care. How do we pay it? Not why are our costs so high? Why are taxes needing to go up? But, you know, how to pay for it.
I can tell you, for some public-spirited person or foundation or politician, taking on this youth unemployment is a wonderful project. It would do the country such good.
Yep, I agree. Pat Choate,
the book hooray is for Colin Powell.
Yeah, hey, we're trying to get him on the show. Pat, we'll leave it there. The book is called Saving Capitalism. Pat, we'll see you again soon here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian. Enjoy.